It should be a fun night. We've got a really great panel for you guys here. And so just to do a bit quick introduction, we've got two alumni companies that just came out of last year's program, Anna and Ben, and I'll let them introduce themselves. And then we've got two financial institution partner chaperones, Brianna and Neil from Bank of America and Bank of New York Mellon, that are going to be speaking with us tonight. So with that, we're going to get ahead started. And again, this is really an opportunity for you guys to hear about the lab, their experiences from a startup perspective and from a financial institution perspective. And let's just have some fun and ask any questions. So Anna, can I ask you to start, do your intro, if you could talk about when you joined the program, what your company does, and who you are, and then we'll go down the line.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Thanks for taking the time to come tonight. Anna Mahoney. I'm the founder and CEO at Addition Wealth. We are a financial wellness company that helps people work through their financial decisions. We believe that everybody deserves to make the most out of the money that they have, not just people who have a lot of money and can afford a private wealth advisor. Because we have a scale technology that enables us to do that, we also partner with financial institutions who integrate our technology into their offering for those customers. So that was my reason for applying for the program last year, and I can't recommend it enough if part of your go-to market is working with financial institutions. It is an incredibly well-organized program, thanks to the Accenture and Partnership for New York City teams. They really give a lot in the program, and unlike other accelerators, they don't ask for much more than time during the 12-week program. So excited to talk more about it, but I had a fabulous time and would highly recommend the program to those considering it.
Excited to have you here. Ben?
I'm Ben Coleman. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Reality Defender. We do enterprise deepfake detection, detecting deepfakes across audio and video and images and text. I think I'm one of a few folks who've both an alum and also a former participant representing Goldman Sachs. I've kind of seen on both sides of the table. I think it's a no-brainer not only to apply, and then if you get in, you have to do it. They take no equity. They introduce you to among your top prospects, probably the top prospects you'll ever have, and the folks all want to meet you. And I can also say we've done almost every other accelerator, whether this life or in a previous life, compared to others like Y Combinator that take 8 to 10% of your equity. And then all you really do is have a 1-minute demo day among hundreds of other companies. This one is small, it's intimate, and the folks you meet, whether it's Henry Kravitz or bank C-suite, are folks that you'll probably meet within 10 years, but not within the first few years when it really, really matters. So it's awesome. You should apply.
Great. Brianna?
Hi, I'm Brianna Ferguson. I'm with Bank of New York. I've been a chaperone for 3 years, and I've been at BNY for almost 8 years now. Being a chaperone is definitely one of my favorite responsibilities at the organization, and I look forward to every year. It's a great program to be a part of, and I'm excited to share more about the experience.
Neil Zane, Bank of America. My job is to introduce new companies to the bank. And I've been doing this for 15 years on the Innovation Lab. And it's a no-brainer because of a lot of what they've said. But let me tell you something. You get access to all the banks. You get access to all of the bank executives. And you get their input and their time about your product and about your company. You're not going to get that anywhere else.
Neil, you've been part of it since the beginning. 15 years. You're our distinguished veteran tonight.
It's not distinguished. They've used other words, not that one.
We'll use that one for tonight. How has the program changed over the years? How has your involvement changed? Kind of what are the things that really stick out year over year that makes this program so special?
In the startup world, it's chaos, right? It's the Wild West, all of that. Maria Gotch over there, we have had a great partnership forever. This is a tightly run ship. Out of all that chaos, this is organized. And because it's so well organized, you have very curated meetings where you're going to get the most out of those meetings because Maria's going to make certain of it. But they're connected to all the leadership, financial and technology-wise, in New York. So the consistency of the organization and the consistency of the leadership and the go-to-market for interacting with you all is awesome. Even more important, nobody rests on their laurels. So every year, okay, what worked? What are we going to improve? So every year, it improves a little more. Nobody gets cocky, nobody gets arrogant, like a lot of Wall Street and technology people. So those are a couple reasons.
Great, thanks for that. And Brianna, kind of picking up on that, you've been part of the program 3 years now. You've seen a lot of other incubators, accelerators. You're really play in this space. How else would you add to the program and what we do?
I would say all the chaperones, they continuously say how much they enjoy this program. You see the same faces every year, see Neil every year. So everyone who's involved in this loves to do this mentoring program. It's also a very unique way, like Neil said, to get into the bank, because we make sure that you're meeting like EC-1 folks, and it's our role and responsibility as a chaperone to connect you to whomever you would like, as well as who you think would be best to use your technology at the firm. So we're setting up one-on-one calls with the top of the house, and I don't think there's any other program that offers that much visibility into a firm. And, we're all under NDA, so you're also, able to talk freely, so you're meeting with people where it can be more on the tech side and talking about your tech stack, or if you're an earlier stage company, we've had conversations that have been around, building out your cap table and pricing for a large institution so that you get mentorship opportunities across the whole range of a relationship.
Ben, just coming down the line here, you've been kind of played both roles, like you mentioned, right? You've been on the financial institution side, now came back as a startup company. So as you kind of turn the page, how has your role changed, and what's kind of great about the program on both sides?
What's really interesting about being on the chaperone side, being one of the banks representing the banks within the program, is you see a lot of companies, and it's really hard to even get a seat at the table. At Goldman Sachs, I had to apply and kind of present why I should represent the bank at the program. I was also part of the committee that interviews the companies. That gets to see at least the finalists who are coming through, and they're awesome. I mean, the folks that get selected are awesome. The folks that don't get selected are also awesome as well. I can say, as a company in it, it was a little overwhelming. We happen to be in a cybersecurity space, also touching AI, which is very topical right now. We thought we'd get 3 banks interested in us. I think we had 8. It was a lot of meetings here, a lot of meetings at these banks' headquarters, also a lot of meetings in DC with regulators, the ones that are actually affecting change on the banks as well. So for us, it just made the future happen a lot faster. And not to get ahead of myself, but we have an opportunity with both of these banks up here, one of which we'll hear about on Friday. Neil, we'll talk about later.
Wink, wink.
And these are both things that maybe we could have done on our own, maybe. Here, they're guaranteed. If you get in, you are going to get time with these banks. They are going to want to meet you because they've actually chosen you. Not all banks choose every company, and so the banks that do choose you have actually committed to connect with you throughout the whole course of multiple months and afterwards as well. And if they miss a meeting, they get a stern phone call from Maria. And if you miss a meeting, it's even worse, so you don't miss any meetings.
See, the organization right there, the organization, it matters.
And I think in a post-COVID world, like, nothing is better than these face-to-face meetings. You could have a million Zooms, a million Teams or WebExes, but those face-to-face meetings where you build the personal relationships. I mean, Neil and I went out for like an Italian dinner a few weeks ago. That can't happen unless you have that kind of direct, organic engagement.
How do you, now you're on the other side, how do you feel, how do you think you were as a chaperone?
As a chaperone?
Yeah, like when you were on the other side, do you think that, do you think you were good?
I think I could have improved. I mean, you, the legend over here. But as a chaperone, what's also happening is you're meeting with the companies, and then your bank leadership, your C-suite, are asking you to literally write reports on all of them. So there's a lot of other work that's happening behind the scenes to ensure that you're representing the banks properly, because bank leadership, they're really leveraging this to find the next generation of not only potential vendors, potential M&A opportunities, potential IPOs as well. And so just getting into the final round to be selected for a final round interview is a huge, huge, huge step in the right direction.
And I think one piece to add is we're talking a lot about the benefits right now, but it doesn't actually stop. Maria, she's in a conversation with you and she hears about priorities that your bank has. She's constantly reaching out, sending us companies that have been through the program in the past, you're continuously invited to the networking events. So it's not like you have these opportunities for one single year. It's like once you're in the program, you have all of the benefits for years to come, which is like invaluable. So you don't get your shot once, to talk to Neil during the 2025 program. You can see him every single year for years to come.
I mean, Ben and I is a perfect example, right? He has a real opportunity at Bank of America that is imminent.
Friday, right? Yeah.
Friday.
And Anna, if you could finish us off, kind of like you just came out of the program this year. How did the program help you think about your business, your go-to-market strategy, the people you're working with? Like, how was the chaperones? How did they help you think about that?
Yeah, the chaperones are incredible. So essentially, you have a person at each of the companies that have chosen to mentor you who is responsible for helping you get meetings with the right people at the institution based on what your goals are, as well as prepping you for those meetings. So if you compare that to saying, okay, I wonder if there's an opportunity at company X, and then even if you're at a company, a startup that you think is doing well, you're still a little old startup, right, relative to these large institutions, and it's hard to know who you can talk to. It's hard to know if the person that you're talking to is the right person. Usually you need to speak to multiple people at an institution to figure all of that out. So the chaperone is a person whose job it then becomes, right? This is part of their day-to-day responsibilities to figure all of that out for you, prep you for the meetings, and then follow up with the internal stakeholders afterwards. It's like this amazing luxury that somebody hands to you that is so much harder to do on your own. So I found that to be super helpful. I think that when you get selected by companies, sometimes there is an opportunity that's clear right from the get-go. And other times, I mean, what happened with us was we got a few, not right now, but here are the reasons why. And those were super helpful conversations because one, if they've done something similar to what you've done before, you learn from all of those lessons, right? So there's actually a lot to learn from there. And also, as many of you can probably appreciate, if there isn't an opportunity at an institution, knowing that right away is a hell of a lot better than like not knowing and thinking and, oh, should I try this other angle, right? Being connected with the right people, even if it's a not now, is really amazing. And then because the institutions view this as a long-term relationship, you can continue to see and explore, and things actually change pretty quickly at institutions. So I spent time with someone at an institution who was a not now this last year, but there was this one piece of the model that they had that had also been in the back of my mind. I wonder if this is an opportunity for a distribution channel for our business. And we've been following up on that, and it turns out, thanks to my conversation with him during the program, I learned actually this is something we should take more seriously. And so at my company, we've pursued that pretty explicitly with a couple of partners. But then it's actually come back with that institution too, where we're having conversations now to see could we do something there. I don't know if it'll happen because with most of these institutions, things don't happen overnight. But I'm extremely grateful for the learning, the opportunity, the assessment of whether or not the institution is a good fit for you at some point or in the future. And then also those opportunities that continue if you build the right relationships and show the same respect back to the people who give you that respect in their time.
And just to add on to that, what does winning look like? If someone says they actually want to buy your product or your service, you might think, wow, I've won. They're just going to start buying it. There's then this complex multiple-month procurement cycle through vendor management and vendor risk, and you might think it's easy, and it's not. And it's complicated, and every bank is completely different. You'd think there'd be a firm, like maybe Accenture can solve this, that standardizes, but it's not yet standardized. Being able to call someone like Neil and say, hey, we have this 87-step process from the vendor risk team. Which of these 300 essays do we need to write? And he'll say, you need to answer all of them, obviously. But it'll help you.
He's got a long, there's no yellow brick road. From here, if you win the business, it's like 8 months of pain to get there. But once you're in,
And being able to reach out to somebody like throughout the process to understand which parts are most important, which ones you should lean into, really helps. Because again, just getting a bank wanting to buy your product, you are not through the gauntlet yet. And having a stakeholder internally can help you navigate it and help kind of nudge people to move forward is invaluable.
And the program also helps prepare for that. So to the extent it's the first time your organization has gone through one of these financial institutions processes, it's really helpful to know before you get to the step all of the checks that you need and certifications or different requirements, so that if you actually make it to that process, you can get to the other side of it. You don't drop out in that part as well. So I think it's great that part of the program is not just meeting with the companies, but it's what does it take to be successful in one of these partnerships as well.
So Anna, you brought up like a really great point. I think what's different about our lab is you really get that experience, that engagement with the financial institutions to help you refine your product. I'm curious, Ben, did you have any of those aha moments when you were working with the financial institutions that really made you think about Reality Defender in a different light?
Yeah, I think that I'm sure a lot of folks in the audience deal with what's considered PII, personal identifiable information. You might think it's not a big issue and just trust us because you use Amazon Web Services for security. That's not enough for the banks. And so thinking about how to engage folks on things like personal data before you step into the room, it really helped a lot for us. We had an opportunity, whether we use real data or generated data to prove how our service works. We found the right combination of both, and we came into the meeting already being prepared for the questions we would get asked, where had we not known them from someone like Neil, we would have kind of fumbled our answers. And a lot of times, the banks, you've heard the old joke, no one got fired for buying IBM. Nobody wants to buy a startup service that might damage their own promotion. And so demonstrating confidence both in the steps needed to move forward, but also in your own solution, it comes through training. And this platform provides fantastic training.
Brianna, picking up on that from the financial institution perspective, what are some of the characteristics that really make it click with a startup company? Like, what are you looking for how you engage with them to really make that magic happen?
We look for a lot of open communication. So I always ask, who do you want to meet? What sort of people do you get along with? I make sure that I prepare every one of our startup matches before they go into a call. So giving them that insight that you wouldn't have just off the street, like the personalities of the people you're meeting with, so that when they go in, you know whether or not to make a joke or to be really straightforward and very technical. So we look for our matches to be, open to the feedback we give them, especially if we think they should tweak it, and also recognize that it's a finite amount of time that you have in this mentorship program, so to use it wisely and have a sense of urgency. So if we say, and this is feedback we've given, you should come in with your architecture diagram of your technology because you're meeting with our head of AI, and he's going to ask you about it per the data piece. You should immediately be coming up with that. You should be able to, have it ready for the call, and we're always open to review it with you and prep with you beforehand, so that, acting with that sense of urgency and just being open-minded to all the feedback we give to you, and having these weekly check-ins that we put on the calendars are really key to our partnerships.
And just a very vivid example, when we met BNY, we already stalked everybody online, their LinkedIn, their Facebooks, literally everything. But to have someone at BNY send us the internal biographies on who we're meeting, what they're actually focusing on, what they're doing day to day, what teams they manage, it completely changed the way we engage. And LinkedIn is not that real. You can put whatever you want on there. You might have a title, you might have kind of a chronology of their previous career there, but we got these half-page bios wow, that person used to work in X or Y, and it helped guide the way we present our solution to each individual stakeholder.
And bringing in more people from your team, so not just the founder, but maybe your CTO, whoever else it may be, you offer yourself more points of connection to the firm. So we have a huge office in Pittsburgh, and there's people who've gone through the program that went to Carnegie Mellon, and as soon as some of our MDs heard about that, they're like, oh, I went there, I love Carnegie, my son's there. So the more people you bring into these calls, the more chances you have to make that connection, and someone feels a little bit more invested in helping you and moving forward. So I always say, don't just, not just the CEO, not just the founder, bring in more folks, especially at BNY, we like that, we're like a family there.
Neil, anything you would add?
The collaboration works the best when I say this, I don't say anything lightly, but honesty, what your product does and what it doesn't do. Shouldn't have to ask 30 times to get the real answer. You tell me what it does, I'm going to make certain I'm going to introduce you to the right people there. And Stefan over here and I, we had a drink beforehand, and he's like, what do we really get? What you'll get is, when you walk into the room, you will be completely prepared. This person is really technical. Nobody really respects him. But over here, this person he values everything that person says. So you want to pay attention to that person's questions. You ain't going to get that on LinkedIn, right? And then when you have that meeting, you're going to get so much more from that, because I'm going to point to where the real people that actually make Bank of America move. Those are the people you're going to pay attention to, and you're going to pay attention to those questions, and you're going to be smarter the next time with any bank, because all the banks, I mean, we're all different, but the trends are the same. So the collaboration thing is a major deal. And then the other thing is, you got to be coachable. If you're going to go in this program, you got to be coachable. You've gotten to this point where you're starting a company because you have an ego. Good for you. We all have egos. But this is a mentorship program more than anything else. So when we give you advice, particularly about our firm, the next meeting, we expect you to deliver that advice. And by the way, we're all in this together. We all want you guys to be successful. That makes the statistics that the FinTech Lab puts out every year, we want those statistics to go up. So when the advice is given, be open-minded, and if you question it, let's have a conversation about it. But those conversations, that really matters, right? Tension sometimes is really good.
And just to double down on that, what Neil mentioned, what you do and what you don't do, how important that is. I think with everyone else you guys meet, you guys are pitching investors all the time. You're pitching the future. You guys are going to walk on water. You're going to cure cancer, all kinds of things that are very much over the horizon. When you walk into B of A, the fact that Neil's been able to prepare you, you could be very transparent and honest. This is what we do, and this is what we don't do. You guys are startups. You don't do everything. You have to pick and choose what products you do now, which ones are on the roadmap. Being able to confidently say, we don't do X, but here's how we're thinking about it, that really is something important for CTOs at banks to hear about. They will share their opinions with you. Well, that's interesting. Maybe you should go in this direction. On our side, we were not yet certain on doing real-time deepfake detection for video. We were honest that we weren't doing it yet, but we had a sense of how to do it. Maria specifically helped us connect with some of the right bank folks. They give us insights on how they were thinking about it, and they said point blank to us that they were appreciative that we admitted that we weren't doing it yet, because everyone who said they were doing it was lying. So I think that's really important thing to put on, saying what you do and what you don't do, and allowing you to walk into the room confidently and say what you don't do, but demonstrate how you're thinking about potentially doing it.
And I want to come to you on this. You talked earlier about that, not now, but maybe later, and having that relationship. So how were you able to take the feedback? What was great about the way you presented yourself that really made that click to build that relationship going forward?
So the program stresses a lot, which I think is the right way to go about a lot of these conversations anyway, which is you basically get feedback on what you have to offer, right? We're here to get mentored. The company selects you, so they're interested in learning about you. They're setting you up with the right program, and then you go into the conversation and you say, okay, happy to share what we do. Would love your feedback on what we do. If there's potential for someone, it will be clear, right? And they'll kind of move things around accordingly. But for us, we did that in the conversations with different companies, moved in different directions in different ways, and it was great. I think understanding that just a execution process with one of these institutions takes 8-9 months, right, at a minimum, to get through all of the processes, and contracting is a long process as well. So we very much approached this as it is a 12-week program. Let's show up, let's present well, let's share what we do, let's get feedback, let's leave each meeting with these folks saying, I'm willing to talk to this person again, because they didn't waste my time and it was pleasant enough, right? And they're doing something interesting and I understand what they're doing. And we've been able to basically continue conversations with the institutions by continuing to follow up. I still leverage our mentors. I had drinks with one of them last week. One of the others, maybe the week prior, I was visiting their offices and met them before and after the sessions to continue to do X or Y. So I think it's, for me, I think this is a relatively small world. People move around to different places. And I think there are moments in time where things are needed, and there are moments in terms of potential partnership, and there are moments in times where, for whatever reason, it's not. And I think part of the job, this is just my personal perspective, is you got to hang around the hoop so that when the moment is there, they remember you and they're willing to talk to you, right? And so we very much approached it as, let's share who we are, let's get great feedback on what we're doing, let's move forward where there is opportunity, and where there isn't, let's keep a discussion in a great way. And actually, towards the end of the program, the mentors were actually great on telling us, this is how, for our institution, you should keep in touch with people to benefit them without annoying them. And we did it over the last few months, and it actually worked really well.
That's great, thank you. Changing topics a little bit, Ben, I'm going to come to you. You talked earlier about the Henry Kravis meeting, and I think the events is one of the coolest things that we do about the lab. What was kind of your favorite event? Could you talk to the audience about what the Henry Kravis meeting was like, or some of the other ones?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Henry Kravis was the most interesting meeting. It was rescheduled a few times. Henry's a very busy person, and we're lucky to get his time anytime. But when we sat down with him, we were there for a few hours, and no topics were off limits, which was pretty shocking. I mean, we definitely heard some things, but I don't think he would share publicly, not only about companies, but the way the economy is moving, the election, but also how companies like us could best engage in the larger ecosystem. We had these meetings as well with I mentioned regulators already, with leadership of the biggest financial services regulatory groups in New York and in DC. And they were sharing things with us that banks don't even hear, how they're going to start impacting emerging regulations on banks, whether through different security tools, whether through different requirements. It's helping to guide our roadmaps as well to help potentially provide solutions to these emerging requirements. I think that's just like a small snapshot of some of the meetings, but even the most junior meetings within banks particularly were incredibly insightful as well. Sometimes the most junior people actually know more than the most senior people. And a lot of the times those junior people have more time to engage with you on a more personal level. They could share more insights saying, listen, after the meeting, let me tell you kind of what's really happening. So Henry Kravis is way up here is the best, but at middle and junior levels as well, they're still incredibly valuable.
Anna, you next. What was kind of your favorite event that we did as part of the program?
My favorite event. I liked meeting the other startups. I really appreciate the chance to meet different founders, different companies as well. But I think it's really nice to have a cohort of folks that you can lean on as you're going through the program. And so there's always nice connections that you make. And then when you are at a conference or at another event or somewhere, there are friendly faces in the crowd that are there. So not one specific one, but I always appreciate that opportunity.
Love it, thanks.
Oh, sorry, I'm going to say one other thing because it's related to this. The application process is intensive, but actually when we went to the demo day, which not the final demo day, but the application demo day, I remember thinking, even if the only step that we get to in the process is this event, it would have been worth it because we had our brand and our product offering and ability to share what we were doing in front of dozens of financial institutions. So I'm incredibly grateful that we were selected and we were part of the program, but I think there is value to the application process because you get a lot of exposure just in that. And you never know what that leads to. So we did the presentation and then we had a day where we just had a little stand and a computer and our product and tech was kind of showing, and we had, I don't know, maybe 15 to 20 conversations over the course of a few hours with financial institutions. And I know there are rules about not being able to follow up with them, et cetera, but that was super helpful and valuable because it's very hard to get those type of ad hoc meetings where somebody's in front of you that's a product manager at one of these companies. They're asking you questions, they're seeing what you're doing. That in and of itself was extremely valuable and helpful and well run. So I think there's value just to the application process.
Yeah, that's probably my favorite day too. It's a bit of like a Shark Tank. You come in, you do your 5-minute pitch in front of a panel of financial institutions, and they actually vote on you until we get down from a a couple hundred to top 50 to a top 20, then eventually a top 10. So it's a really competitive process, but it really is a fun way to learn a lot about these different companies.
And the folks in the audience are like ready to fire up with hard questions. So if you make it through, come prepared.
Absolutely. Brianna, I'm going to come to you. So Bank of New York Mellon is hosting our big demo day next year, which is the grand finale for the program. So Brianna, could you talk a little bit about what that demo day looks like and how we run it and a little bit about what BNY is doing there?
Sure. So we're really excited to be hosting it next year. It's every June. It's kind of the marquee event and the culmination of all of the mentorship. And it's a day where you get to pitch yourself in a very quick fashion to all the decision makers from all the financial institutions. So us as the chaperones will make sure that we have the right people in the room to hear your quick pitch, as well as other people from the industry. So it's even outside of just the chaperones in the FinTech Innovation Lab. And for example, 2 years ago, we had our head of cloud architecture in the audience, and every 5 minutes I would see a new email pop on my phone because he was listening to the demos and then emailing our head of AI, our head of the data engineering review board, saying, "Oh, hi Sartik, Brianna and I are at this demo day, and this company seems really promising. Would you, Brianna will take it from here and give you an introduction." So even after all of the mentorship, all the training we've gone through, you're still getting introductions into other companies who may not have been your chaperone, and it's a really invaluable experience to be there in the room with them and to get to do a quick pitch and reach a very broad selection of decision makers from all these large institutions. So we're excited to hold it next year at BNY on our really cool 17th floor, so it'll definitely be a fun event.
Neil, different question. You've been part of the program for 15 years. What do you think is really stuck in terms of innovation trends? You've seen blockchain, metaverse, AI, sustainability. How has that changed, and what has really resonated as something that really gains traction?
The trends I've seen is... Use this one. The trends I've seen is that before it used to be technology people, and they were like, "Hey, I got this great technology, blah, blah, blah." And I remember when I would talk to the other chaperones, be like, they don't understand the business that they're... It's not about the technology, right? It's about the problem that you're solving. That's what wins. At Bank of America, I brought in over 30 companies, Tableau, DocuSign, WorkFusion, many companies. And it wasn't, I love the technology. It was, I had a business problem that my stakeholder had, and I connected that with the right company that had the right technology. It wasn't about AI, it wasn't about RPA. It was like, okay, based on this set of requirements, this problem, this is the right solution. And I think the trend has been that it seems to be more business people starting these companies coming here. You're a business person, right? You're not your technology, but your business. So it's like they see there's a problem that other companies aren't solving for, and they're like, oh, there's a gap here. I think we can make this better. I think we can make it less risky, less costly. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, over the last 10 years, this automation thing, it's got to be very fit for purpose. But each line of business has a need for automation, and there's all these people doing all those manual things. And it seems like with every year, because of LLM and all this AI stuff, that there is automation solutions that aren't just like broad-based, but particular. I'll give you one example. Cutover. Cutover came through this lab. Great win for Bank of America, great win for Kaya Cutover, great win. What do? It's event management. So you do software releases, disaster recovery tests. It was on SharePoint. It was on all this crap all over the place. Nobody's communicating together. Now it's this collaboration platform where everybody's communicating. There's an audit trail. It's automated runbooks. I mean, that's the greatest example. It's like, was it technology? No. It was like, okay, there's a business problem here where the right people aren't communicating, and there's no audit trail, so we don't know how to improve the process the next time. So I think that's this automation trend is just getting more intelligent. And the more intelligent it gets, the better ROI we're all going to get.
That's great, thank you. So just the final part of our panel, and actually I'm going to start again with you, Neil, and let's go down the line. If you can give one piece of advice to the startups in the audience, what would it be? What's really the winning factor for a company as a startup and as part of the lab?
As part of the lab, listen, when I say me, I'll speak for all of us. I'm going to be your partner. Let's win together. You know, I'm not confused about how to get shit done within the banks, and a lot of the chaperones are not either. She knows, I mean, she's part of the culture. She knows exactly who to go to at BNY. You know, let's go down the field, if you're a football person, and let's go to the end zone together. And we can only do that if we have each other's back. So treat us like a part of the company, and let's establish that trust. And I'll be as transparent. I'll tell you, when you go into a company, it's like this guy or this person, that person doesn't know anything. You don't have to pay attention. Go over here. And I need the same transparency from you, right? This product is not ready for prime time. This product, that's our sweet spot. That's the kind of stuff I want to hear. So that's with the lab. Collaboration is key. For a company, you want to be able to make certain that you're solving a problem that we even give a shit about. And number two, what is your edge? And if you can't articulate that in freaking 2 or 3 sentences, then it doesn't matter, because you don't even understand it. So know what that edge is. It's got to be very specific. There's a lot of companies out there that are competitive, and there's like all these, I forget what I call it, flea biters or whatever it's called. You need to be able to articulate, this is different for this reason, and it has to resonate. You know, like, I brought this company called Tanium, if you guys know Tanium, right? There's the headline, you gotta have a headline, before and after. The headline for Tanium, it took us 7 days to find out if we're getting attacked on the servers and desktops. Now it takes us minutes, if not seconds. That resonated. You need a headline like that, before and after.
So Neil's said my answers, but I would echo being collaborative and open-minded with your chaperone. I would say picture us as your new work best friend. So of course being professional, but constantly like on the phone with us, connecting with us, forming that relationship. One of the companies that we've mentored in the past, you know, he was a great guy. We liked having him around, so we were inviting him to all these BNY events. He was getting all these opportunities that, because he was so friendly and open, that he was, you know, invited to this, you know, work happy hour. He went to like a VC dinner with us. So definitely try to form those relationships early on and ask your mentor and your chaperone, oh, is there anything that's happening that I can come to in person? Because then your network just continues to grow. You get to meet more people. I think that's really important. And then I agree completely with Neil. If you can't say in 2 to 3 sentences what your value prop is, which, you know, we've run into in the past through the lab, and we've given that feedback to people and coached them on it and helped them, you know, articulate it shortly. I would say that's the biggest piece for success.
I think those are all fantastic. I would add another item, which is demonstrate your evidence for why your product or your feature or your service is needed. You don't have to have live customers, but you need to have folks who have indicated they actually want your solution. It can't just be because you say it's the best blank. Banks are, you know, very different, but yet very much the same in terms of what they need. If one bank needs it, probably all the banks will need it. And so if you're coming into this program and you've spoken to people in banks and they've said, if you produce X, we would be interested in buying it, that comes a long, long way. So banks have lots of exciting problems to solve. I'm sure your solution can solve at least one of them if you can best connect the solution with the problem.
Yeah, Ben and I used to have this Wall Street breakfast at this VC. So we'd be like, all right, what are the problems the market's have? What are the problems of the bank? And then, oh yeah, talk to this company. Don't talk to this company because that CEO's full of shit. You know, we talk about all that stuff, right? The banks all talk. And if you have a solution like Reality Defender that is going to have an ROI, at that Wall Street breakfast, we would share that. So you multiply just because you have that one good experience.
And just to double down on that, there are certain things I'm sure some of you guys do that actually produce revenue, but a lot of the tools here are actually reducing risks. The banks don't compete in risk reduction. They see it as an industry challenge. It is an industry challenge. They all win together. And so if you're reducing risk, the banks will all share among themselves. X company or Y company did this, you've got to meet with them.
Like was said, when you go through the process, people expect you to be very buttoned up from what you say to the slides that you present to the demo days that you have. So just beware that you get one shot in that moment. Maybe make it to the next round. Maybe you don't. I'll just repeat it. I think the application process itself is worth it to get your name out there. And then should you participate in the program, just know that it's only 12 weeks. It goes by super quickly, but clear your calendar and make space for all of the opportunity because it does take up a lot of time, but it's a fantastic use of time.
Anna, Ben, Brianna, Neil, thank you guys so much for being here and contributing tonight. A lot of fun for us. And to everyone in the audience, thank you guys for coming out tonight. I know it's Monday, pretty tough. Just some quick PSAs. So applications are open until November 27th, so do try to get them in early. We'll also be hosting another shorter panel on November 20th. So if you have any last-minute questions about your application, you can ask it then during that webinar. And then with that, if there are any other financial institutions in the room, help us get the word out. We're looking for other great startup companies. So thank you guys for the time.